So thank you for replying. You have got the mail, right? So now in that folder, if you access the folder, you will see a subfolder. The name of the subfolder is one. You have technical description. I have given a sample as well as I've got an Excel file. What are you going to write the technical description on? So against your name, you have to write the object and you have to submit a technical description there. Right? You can see the sample. I have given a technical description of a mouse that you use in the computer. One. Two. You must have already prepared your resume. So you will see another folder which is called the resume folder. There you can submit your assignments for resume. You just have to, I hope you know how to use it. Right? So if you open the Google folder, there is a plus sign towards the extreme left, new. And when you click new, it will give you file upload, folder upload. You are supposed to upload the file, PDF file, whichever you have made, right? So you upload the file in the resume section. Yeah, resume, if it is completed, kindly upload it there in the resume folder. It is written over there. If you have uploaded it, I'll be checking it and I'll be working on it, right? So we have completed unit 2 and I think we are supposed to start with unit number 3, right? So we'll begin with unit 3, that is called technical communication. So I'll just share the screen for today. So till now what we were doing was we're dealing with technical writing, the writing part. Now only writing is not important when you are dealing in a workplace situation. Even speaking is an important aspect. So which are the ways you can orally communicate? So one of the best ways and one of the well-known ways of communicating is public speaking. We have been quite fascinated with the word public speaking. So what it is actually? So if you see the title, public speaking. So speaking in public is a simplified understanding of the topic. It is also known as oratory or oration from the word oral, right? And actually you have an audience where you will be passing on the information. Most of us have done it. We have done something like elocution, speeches, etc. in our school and college durations, right? Usually the audience not only sees what you are speaking or not only hears what you are speaking, but will also look into the non-verbal aspects. Remember, we have done kinesics in unit 1. So they'll also be talking about the non-verbal aspects of communication. So a combination of verbal and non-verbal aspects is what will be judged by the audience or what the audience will be looking into a public speaker. What is the purpose? There are a few different purposes of public speech. You want to inform this audience about certain things. 2, you want to persuade. And 3, you want to entertain. So depending on the purpose, there are a few different types of public speaking. Please mark this as an important question from the exam point of view, which are or discuss the different types of public speaking. So the first type is informative public speaking. Now, when you want to give or pass on some information to the audience, those kind of speeches are known as informative public speaking. The best examples over here could be lectures that are taken in the class. By lectures, I mean not only regular lectures, but expert sessions that are held. Presentations that students make. When you take it in the workplace scenario, business presentations that are made, they are actually also termed as informative public speaking because you're going to inform people about a particular topic. The second type of public speaking is persuasive public speaking. Now, these kinds of, if you see from the names itself, persuasive means you try to convince. So the objective, if the objective and the aim of the speaker is to convince or persuade a group of people, he'll be using this kind of public speaking technique. What happens is, this kind of public speaking technique would be used in terms of marketing and sales area more, right? Because you are supposed to convince the person to buy the product. You're supposed to change the opinion of of the people towards the product. Now, let me give you a very simple example over here. Uh, let's take the example of shampoo. You all must be using a particular brand of shampoo to wash your hair. Then also, when you go into some shop, or particularly you visit retailers or even wholesalers, they will have many options from which you can select. But why do you go towards only one particular brand? Because you are more convinced by their advertisements. Advertisements are also one of the ways of marketing. Why are they marketing the product? So that they can convince the people to use that particular product. They can convince the people that that particular product is the best product in the range which is available, right? So I'm just giving a very simple example of a product that we are using in our daily lives. That's a shampoo to wash your hair. Similarly, whenever you have such kind of products to sell, any product, take it any workplace situation, any kind of skill that you have to do, you have to persuade people so that they are convinced that your product is one of the best products in the same range. See, you cannot have a competition between a hair shampoo and a washing powder, right? They have their own categories. So in that one particular category, your product is the best. Let's say if I take the example of an antivirus that I want to purchase for my laptop, there are various options available. So why do I buy any one? I buy any particular one because that company has convinced me that their antivirus is best in the range. Okay, so you cannot compare the antivirus with the purchasing of a computer. That you have to compare with only that particular kind of product, right? So persuasive public speaking happens in the case when you have to change and influence the opinion of people. And the last one is entertaining public speeches. The purpose of the public speech is to create entertainment. It is actually a little lighter on the note. How can somebody entertain? They can entertain the audience through jokes, short stories, and anecdotes. Their way of presenting the same old joke in a different manner is what makes it more entertaining. Stand up comedies are actually an example of entertaining public speeches. Stand up comedies are an example of entertaining public speeches. Now remember, this can be asked as short notes. So write a short note on entertaining public speech or public speaking, or it could be it can be asked as discuss the different types of public speaking. So wherever you write a little description of what that public speaking means, and you add up an example. The example that is added over here, these are not the only ones. These are a few examples that I have quoted. You may refer to the reference book and you can add up any more examples that you like. Now, we have already discussed in presentation the different patterns, right? So also note down, this is an important question. The appropriate patterns or different patterns of arranging the information in a public speech, right? So everybody on the spot, every time the speech is not on the spot. Sometimes you get time to prepare for the speech before the speech actually takes place. Sometimes you get time to prepare for the speech before you are actually supposed to give the speech. So what do you do in that or such cases? So you have to look at a framework, or you have to look into something or some way of arranging the information so that it is easier for the audience to understand and it is easier for you to deliver the speech. So what do you do in this case? In this case, these are the different ways of arranging information in a public speech. Now, out of the 5 that are given, 4 we already know. We have been working with it in the topic that we dealt in unit number 2 called presentation skills. So only the first one is a new one. So the first pattern or the first way in which you can arrange information when you are giving public speeches is called topical. Now here, by topical we mean we move from one idea to another and then we move from theme to theme. The arrangement is such that you move from one idea to another idea, then you move on, or you can move on from one theme to other theme as per the topic on which you are going to speak. As per the topic on which you are going to speak. Okay. Now, there are different methods. Remember, this is arranging the information. There's 5 ways of arranging the information. Mark it as an important question. And to create a confusion, the method. Which method are you going to use? So there are 4 methods in which you can give a public speech. Okay, there are 4 methods in which you can give public speech. This is also an important question. I'm asking you to mark it because if they're asking patterns, there are 5 patterns, and if they're asking the methods, there are 4 methods, 4 different methods. So which are the 4 different methods? First, memory. 2, manuscript. 3, impromptu. And 4, notes. Okay, this is also an important question and can be used to confuse you in exams. Excuse me. Now, in the memory method, what happens is you memorize the entire speech that you are going to give. You are supposed to memorize the entire speech that you are going to give. This method is very important or very helpful to people who can memorize stuff and who also have the confidence that if they forget an item, because the audience doesn't know how much you have prepared. This method of giving a public speech is important. Why? Because it's little hard in nature because you have to memorize what you are going to say. And there can be instances when you might forget things. But because you have prepared it, remember, always remember, even if you forget something from the speech that you are giving, because you have prepared it, you only have the idea of what you have prepared and how much you have prepared. The audience never knows. Right? So it is okay if you are comfortable with memorizing and speaking. That's also a nice way of giving a public speech. The next method is called as the manuscript. Here by manuscript we mean word to word. Remember, please remember, from each and every word that you want to speak, the exact words that you will speak in your speech are written and the person would read from the script that is prepared. Remember, there is a word called script. Manuscript means a manual handwritten script of the entire speech. A manual handwritten speech or a manual handwritten copy of the entire speech that you are going to make before the audience. Next is the impromptu method. Now, what is an impromptu method? Impromptu means on the spot. Now, this does not happen more often. This happens sometime. Here, you don't have time to prepare for script, or you have very less time, less than 5-7 minutes for preparation. Last is notes. Now, I'll give you a very good example for notes. A very good example for notes is all those shows that you see that happen live on television. All the live shows that you see, you can see that the host is holding some cards in his hand. Now, those cards we call as cue cards or notes. Cue cards or notes. Why such a name? Because they don't write the whole manuscript, but what they can write or they would be writing or marking is important points which they can refer to, important points which the person can refer to but not necessary the entire speech is written. It's not necessary that the entire speech is written. Just points, and then you can discuss the points on your own. Just points, and then you can discuss the points on your own. Okay, they are just points which you can discuss on your own. Right, so that are the 4 methods for giving a public speech. So we have a reconnecting question. Is the statement true or false? Informative speeches are most commonly used by sales and marketing people to attract the interest of potential clients. Is the statement true or false? You can give your answer in the chat box. I think you have missed the point over here. Remember, the statement is not true, the statement is false. Why? Informative speeches are given in classrooms and in business presentations. When you want to do sales and marketing, you will be using persuasive speeches. Let me take you back to the PPT. Remember, persuasive speeches are most commonly used by sales and marketing people. Why? From the name persuasive, you mean to say that you want to persuade, you want to convince. Okay, please remember this is very simple, but little confusions. Yes, Kush, you have raised a hand.
Ma'am, but the salesperson also use some a little bit of informative public speaking to give the client somewhat information about the product.
See, here when you are talking about the nature of public speech, you are supposed to look into the objective. Is his objective only giving information? No. His or her objective is also to convince the people. That is why specifically the example has been cited that it is sales and marketing. Because their aim is not only information. Information plus, see, even if you take entertaining, they'll also have some information. But what is the purpose? The purpose is to entertain. They'll not be always telling a make-up story, right? It's not always a fictional story. The story should be or could be a real example that happened with him or her. Here I can give you a very nice example. I hope you all know Mr. Bean. You know about him?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So do you know what is his real name? This is his screen name. Most of us, if we can search on Google and we can find out. But we are more familiar with the name Mr. Bean. We are not familiar with the name Ron Atkinson. And do you know he was not an he actually was never thinking of becoming a comedian, or he was never thinking of taking up comedy or stand-up comedy as one of his careers. He's actually an engineer. If you see his stand-up comedy, he's also doing some entertaining work along with giving information as well. Let's say, why do we laugh when we see him in a church and he is misbehaving? Why do we laugh when we see him in a mall and is misbehaving? He's trying to give an example, that he's trying to pass on the information that You cannot behave in a particular way in a particular place. Every place has its own manners and etiquettes, right? So when I'm talking about public speeches, please remember, when even in case of any workplace document we are mentioning, they'll always be giving information, but along with the information, what do they give? Only information. See, let's say, why not it should be informative? Does your teacher try to convince you that what Pythagoras said was correct and you have to use it? No, she's just informing that this is the Pythagoras theorem and this is how it is derived. That the clear cut purpose over there is, the objective is you understand or you are supposed to get the information. Now when you go to persuading, so whenever, let's say, Pythagoras would have devised the particular theorem, he might had have to convince certain people that this is the correct, this is the theorem and this is how I derive it. There then Pythagoras's purpose was not only to inform but also to prove and convince that this is what is correct, right? So that's how you see it, and that is why the statement is false and not true, right? That was a good question.
Okay, ma'am.
That's why we have the statement as false. Okay, so how do you or what are the steps to a good speech? The steps. So step number 1 is selection of topic. This also is one of the important questions, because you see in all kind of formal documentation, whether it is written or oral, they have a structure. This is actually the structure of the speech. How do you prepare for making a speech? So this also you can mark as an important question. So these are the steps and you cannot change the order. Okay, this order should be like this: audience analysis, researching and planning, organizing, the wording, that is verbal as well as non-verbal, and developing confidence and avoiding stage fear. So how do you select the topic? Now remember, whatever we are doing, we are supposed to do it for the audience. The audience is supposed to be in our mind when we prepare for a speech. Apart from the audience, we should also look at the occasion. Let's say we have been celebrating Teachers' Day and Environment Day in school, okay? Engineers Day in college, English Day. You might have had experience of that also in our college. So if, let's say, it is Teachers' Day and I start talking about environment, why is environment important? Is it relevant? No. So that's why we have to look into the occasion of the speech. Let's say I'm going to talk about Teachers' Day. So I'll be talking about great teachers from the past, the present, and who could become or who could achieve greatness as a teacher in the future. That is quite relevant, right? Moreover, you should also have a little background knowledge about the topic. So most of us know why Teachers' Day is celebrated, on which date does it come, whose birthday are we commemorating, and why that person is considered to be one of the best teachers. That's a little background information. More we can research on. There is a step for researching and planning. Audience analysis. Why audience? We should always know who the audience is. Remember, we did this in presentation skills as well. So why do I need to know the audience? Because I have to plan my speech accordingly. I have to plan my speech accordingly. That is why I need to know who the audience is. These are some of the questions. They are the same questions that we had in our presentation skills: how to analyze audience, then researching and planning. On one click on the computer and on the search engine Google, you'll get thousands and thousands of websites which is full of information. So first you need to gather the information. Okay, I want to include 1, 2, 3, 4 things. After gathering the information, again you have to arrange. Will I require 4 things? No, I'll require 3 things, whatever. Now, how will my speech be interesting? Remember, in our presentation skills, we had a thing called porch. If you remember that, Porch. I said, you remember this word? This is a technical word. What is the porch? It is actually that interesting story, lines from the poetry, or those lines and quotations that you speak. to make your speech little different. Right? So you should find out that appropriate opening which is interesting and which leads to the topic. Now, what as a speaker you can do, a speaker who is quite new to the field and you have not done or do not have much practice in public speaking, you may prepare simple notes on cards, or just like the bullet points that we have on our PPT slides that you can prepare. You should not be writing down the entire of it. You should have little freedom to frame the sentences. So this is what will happen in research and planning. Then organizing. Now by organizing, I mean what part will I speak when? Where will I put the quotation? In the beginning, at the end? Am I going to speak it this lines over here? So arranging the information. Moreover, we should divide our speech into parts so it is easier to remember for us. So that it is easier to remember for us, you should divide it into parts. Moreover, when you come to an end, when you complete your speech, you should complete in a way where the audience is not left with any questions. So there is clarity in the mind of the audience. That is how you work on it when you organize the information. Then wordings. Now, when I say wordings over here, I mean verbal as well as non-verbal. Verbal as well as non-verbal. Where will you move your hand? You cannot be showing angry information all the time. No? How do you work on things? How will things happen? What kind of expressions do you carry on your face? Because all these things will have an effect on the audience. These are whatever non-verbal that we have done, kinesics, facial expressions, body language, raising and falling of the voice, etc. Is what will be also covered when you are looking at the wordings. The words, not only the words that you use, but the how you represent things. Next, developing confidence and overcoming fear. Now here, developing confidence and overcoming fear, we mean to say that you practice. You all know, or we all have this experience that when we practice a lot, we are more confident about those things. So the more you practice, the more confidence you will gain. Also, when you practice, you will have a kind of an idea of how your speech will go. Right? What time does it take? How much time does it take? Should I cut short the speech? Should I increase the information that I have in the speech? How will I know? I will know when I practice. Next, what else do you know when you practice? When you practice, you also know whether it was boring or is it sounding interesting. Do I need to add more examples, right, etc. Things like those. Now, how do you overcome fear? Remember when I said when we are doing presentation skills, I've already said because you have prepared it, have the confidence that you know it. Because you have prepared it, you should always carry the confidence that you know it. In case you forget some part of the information, the audience is never going to know that you forget or you have forgotten a certain part in the speech. Why? Because the audience never knew how much you prepared. Whatever you said is what the audience is going to believe. Whatever you said is what the audience is going to believe. Right? So overcome fear. You should have a smile on your face, carrying a smile on your face. Drink some water so that the throat is not parched. These are few things that you can do. The prior information about the audience can help the speaker present well. Do you feel that the statement is true or false? Okay, all answers absolutely correct. Right? Prior information about the audience is important so that you can speak well. Because if you know the audience, you will prepare accordingly, and if you've prepared accordingly, your speech will always go well. So how do you make your speech interesting? We always want to make our speech or anything that we do want to do it differently. So how do you do it differently? You do it differently by beginning differently. Let's say I want to make a speech on the goals. Why is a goal important in a person's life? Why should you have a goal in life? This is my goal. So instead of just telling that I'm going to speak on it, I show them the picture of a soccer ground where you can see that there is a goalie who's standing and there is a goal post. And I ask the audience a question. What do you think it is? What do you think the speech would be related to the topic? Now, what do you think about the picture? Somebody will say that it's a football ground. Somebody will say that it's a soccer ground. Somebody will say it's the goalie. Somebody will remember Messi. Anybody. Then when I get the word goal, I can see the way in a game a goal is important. Similarly, in life, in anybody's life, whether it's a student or any other person, a goal is important. So what happens is instead of saying that today I'm going to talk about why goals are important in somebody's life, I took it in a different way. Right? So make your beginning a little catchy, little interesting. Use proper examples. Please don't go back to the examples of 16th and 17th century. Shakespeare. Nobody has seen him. Why don't you see the example from the current scenarios? Look at this person. Beautiful writing, beautiful pictures, beautiful movies, beautiful way of teaching. You see this person, nice speeches, right? So take examples with which the audience can relate and end on an empathetic note. Now, when I say empathetic note, by empathy, I mean the feelings that you have and the feelings that you generate in the audience. Here, let me give you an example, a religious example. You might have heard religious speakers speaking on various books that we have. So, one of the stories that is very popular in the Indian audience is the story of Krishna and how Krishna was born, his mother was in prison, things like that. And how even as a young small child, as an infant, his life had many problems, right? Many people tried to kill him, and the stories. Now we already know the story. We have been listening to this story since we were young kids. We have been listening to it. But what happens when you see the story again on the television? You feel pity. Oh my god, such a young child, such a beautiful kid, and they want to kill him for no reason, because somebody has made a prophecy that this child will kill you. So let's kill the child, right? This feeling that the visual is able to generate, you are supposed to try and generate such kind of a feeling in the audience. Beautiful examples like religious speakers, when they give speeches on Ramayana or Mahabharata, when you take certain incidences like when Sita was abducted by Ravan, one of the examples, when the speaker speaks about it, will always feel pity for Sita, oh poor helpless lady, or something like that. Now, that kind of an information you should generate. I'm not saying you should make the audience cry, but what I'm trying to tell you is the audience should connect with what you are saying. The audience should connect with what you are saying or what you are trying to say, right? That's what will make your speech more interesting. And there's a small video that you can have a look at. There's a small video that you can have a look at about public speaking.
Ma'am, voice is not audible.
Video voice is not available.
Because over the past 12 years, I've had a ringside seat listening to many hundreds of amazing
Is it now audible?
Yes, ma'am.
TED speakers like these. I've helped them prepare their talks for prime time and learn directly from them their secrets of what makes for a great talk. And even though these speakers and their topics all seem completely different, they actually do have one key common ingredient. And it's this. Your number one task as a speaker is to transfer into your listeners' minds an extraordinary gift, a strange and beautiful object that we call an idea. Let me show you what I mean. Here's Haley. She is about to give a TED Talk, and frankly, she's terrified. Over the course of 18 minutes, 1,200 people, many of whom have never seen each other before, are finding that their brains are starting to sync with Haley's brain and with each other. They're literally beginning to exhibit the same brainwave patterns. And I don't just mean that they're feeling the same emotions. There's something even more startling happening. Let's take a look inside Haley's brain for a moment. There are billions of interconnected neurons in an impossible tangle. But look, here, right here, a few million of them are linked to each other in a way which represents a single idea. And incredibly, this exact pattern is being recreated in real time inside the minds of everyone listening. That's right. In just a few minutes, a pattern involving millions of neurons is being teleported into 1,200 minds just by people listening to a voice and watching a face. But wait, what is an idea anyway? Well, you can think of it as a pattern of information that helps you understand and navigate the world. Ideas come in all shapes and sizes, from the complex and analytical to the simple and aesthetic. Here are just a few examples shared from the TED stage. Sir Ken Robinson, creativity is key to our kids' future.
My contention is that creativity now is as important in education as literacy, and we should treat it with the same status.
Elora Harding, building from bamboo is beautiful.
It is growing all around us. It's strong. It's elegant. It's earthquake resistant.
Chimamanda Adichie, people are more than a single identity.
The single story creates stereotypes, and the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete.
Your mind is teeming with ideas, and not just randomly. They're carefully linked together. Collectively, they form an amazingly complex structure that is your personal worldview. It's your brain's operating system. It's how you navigate the world. And it is built up out of millions of individual ideas. So, for example, if one little component of your worldview is the idea that kittens are adorable, then when you see this, you'll react like this. But if another component of your worldview is the idea that leopards are dangerous, then when you see this, you'll react a little bit differently. So it's pretty obvious why the ideas that make up your worldview are crucial. You need them to be as reliable as possible, a guide to the scary but wonderful real world out there. Now, different people's worldviews can be dramatically different. For example, how does your worldview react when you see this image?
What do you think when you look at me? A woman of faith, an expert, maybe even a sister, or oppressed, brainwashed, a terrorist?
Whatever your answer, there are millions of people out there who would react very differently. So that's why ideas really matter. If communicated properly, they're capable of changing forever how someone thinks about the world and shaping their actions both now and well into the future. Ideas are the most powerful force shaping human culture. So if you accept that your number one task as a speaker is to build an idea inside the minds of your audience, here are 4 guidelines for how you should go about that task. 1, limit your talk to just one major idea. Ideas are complex things. You need to slash back your content so that you can focus on the single idea you're most passionate about and give yourself a chance to explain that one thing properly. You have to give context, share examples, make it vivid. So pick one idea and make it the through line running through your entire talk so that everything you say links back to it in some way. 2, give your listeners a reason to care. Before you can start building things inside the minds of your audience, you have to get their permission to welcome you in. And the main tool to achieve that? Curiosity. Stir your audience's curiosity. Use intriguing, provocative questions to identify why something doesn't make sense and needs explaining. If you can reveal a disconnection in someone's worldview, they'll feel the need to bridge that knowledge gap. And once you've sparked that desire, it will be so much easier to start building your idea. 3, build your idea piece by piece out of concepts that your audience already understands. You use the power of language to weave together concepts that already exist in your listeners' minds. It's not your language, their language. You start where they are. The speakers often forget that many of the terms and concepts they live with are completely unfamiliar to their audiences. Now, metaphors can play a crucial role in showing how the pieces fit together because they reveal the desired shape of the pattern based on an idea that the listener already understands. For example, when Jennifer Kahn wanted to explain the incredible new biotechnology called CRISPR, she said, "It's as if for the first time you had a word processor to edit DNA. CRISPR allows you to cut and paste genetic information really easily." Now, a vivid explanation like that delivers a satisfying aha moment as it snaps into place in our minds. It's important, therefore, to test your talk on trusted friends and find out which parts they get confused by. 4, here's the final tip. Make your idea worth sharing. By that I mean, ask yourself the question, who does this idea benefit? And I need you to be honest with the answer. If the idea only serves you or your organization, then I'm sorry to say it's probably not worth sharing. The audience will see right through you. But if you believe that the idea has the potential to brighten up someone else's day, or change someone else's perspective for the better, or inspire someone to do something differently, then you have the core ingredient to a truly great talk, one that can be a gift to them and to all of us.
So how and why should you only restrict or ways of making your ideas more communicable is what we heard about. So what should you avoid in public speaking? Out of the 4 options given, what should you avoid? Excellent answer. Option C is the correct one. So you have to build your ideas with familiar concepts and not unfamiliar concepts. So with this, we come to an end with public speaking. Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions or queries for public speaking? Okay, if no, then I'll share the link for our quiz today. Before I share the link, I think there is a query by one of your classmates at mid-semester exam. Somebody remembers? Now please note down, for ETC subject, the course for mid-semester exam is unit number 1. All the material for unit 1 has been uploaded in the portal, and I also share the material as well as the reference book in the Google folder that is shared with you today. Exam would be in MCQ format only. As of now, as of the information that is given to us, exams would be in the MCQ format. So all the quizzes and all the tests that we have been taking would help you with things, would help you prepare for your mid-semester exam. Remember, because it is unit 1 only, it would be quite in detail. So prepare accordingly. In case you have doubts, in the next session, what you can do is, in case you have doubts, in the next session, you can come up with your doubts and we'll be solving the doubts for mid-semester. If we do not have any doubts, then we'll move ahead with the next topic for unit number 3. So as of now, I have posted the link for your quiz for today. You can look into that quiz and you can start attempting the quiz right away. Yes, Samir, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, in which format we have to create technical description? I mean, in
Description,
PDF or?
you will have a Word file. You see in the Google folder, I have already put up a sample. You have to follow the format of the sample that's provided. Okay, it's a Word file. You have to type and you have to upload.
Oh.
I hope you are not finding any difficulty with the quiz for today. Do not worry about the attendance part. I have already taken the attendance from the participant list that is displayed to me, because the session is already about to end. So don't worry about the attendance. Please attempt the quiz and also go through the unit 1. Go through unit 1, and if you have doubts, queries, question, you can always ask me about it in the next lecture session. We'll have a quick revision of it. Okay. So for today, we end our session over here. The quiz is open till 2:15. Make sure you complete the quiz by 2:15. And in case you have any doubts related to the mid-semester exam syllabus or mid-semester exam topics, we can discuss this in the next lecture. Fine. Thank you, class. Have a nice day.